Hello, it's me, Annalisa, with my spiritual friend. I'm back. It's Sunday, October 1st. Happy October. Even though fall officially started on the 23rd, I believe it was, I still feel like October is like the beginning of the season. Let me go ahead and got a couple people on the list already. So I hope everybody is well. I see a couple of you here. I've got LJ, Devery, hello if you're here, and Cindy. Hello. Oh, I'm a little tired. Sorry for the giant sigh. Hi, LJ. So McKeek and Stingray, little voice memo. I guess a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about manifesting and mindsets, and oftentimes when we're manifesting and thinking about things, I'm just going to tell this quick story. Hi, Cindy, and then I'll start answering your questions. We worry. Like I had a client who was like, every time I start feeling better and doing the stuff, I start to feel better, and then everything falls apart. It's kind of what happens, right? So like when we start wanting new things to come in, the old stuff sort of has to flush out. And I don't know, want to say like, well, if you're not mindful, it just happens. Sometimes it just like happens in this like tower style moment, right? Like the tower card from tarot. It just comes crashing down. You're like, oh, okay. But then that moment brings in the good stuff. So he was talking about wanting a new job, and I mentioned the affirmation about I'm so glad that there was a smooth transition from one job to the next, right? So it's not like all of a sudden like, oh, I don't want the job, and I don't, I want a new job, I'm ready for it, and like you get fired. And he said he was really grateful that he started like with like a smooth transition, because his job did layoffs and like 18 people got fired. And he's like, I swear to God that that's the thing that saved me from losing my job, was that I said I wanted a smooth transition. Because when they have layoffs, you just like, it's all of a sudden like, ooh, even if they give you a severance, like it still is like a shock to the system. So I don't know if you're trying to look for a new job or look for a transition from I don't know, one career to the next, one house to the next, one relationship to the next. It can be a smooth transition. So it's not like, I don't know, I guess with a relationship, how would that happen? You meet somebody new and I don't know, or you find out the other person's like cheating on you. I don't know. Okie dokie. So LJ, if you want to ask your question, we can get started. Oh, you want your career path and what you'll be doing next. Okay, let me get my little. So here, are you interested in the next steps career-wise? Okay. So the first thing I'm feeling like this is like a metaphor for timing more than anything, because I'm seeing like ice breaking up. Like, so you're not on a solid sheet of ice. When rivers freeze over, or waterways freeze over, and then in the spring, as the water starts to thaw, you get the chunks of ice floating down, and that's what I'm seeing. So I feel like your transition might start in the spring. Um, and the feeling I get is like, as much as you're wanting this change, um, I feel like not quite ready to make the jump yet. I do feel like you're holding a lot of anxiety around it, and I'm just trying to work through some of this because it's just there's some message here that it's that's like winding its way through. Um, it feels like to me, for you learning to trust your intuition, because it's like, well, how will I know? How will it come through? Um, and I keep asking, like, well, it's this weird feeling of going between like I feel like I'm taking on a whole new career, but I don't feel like I'm fully leaving my field. And it doesn't feel like I'm taking a step up, but more so a step out. So like I'm not going from regular staff to management. I feel like I'm going into like maybe I'm working under the same umbrella, but something totally new. So, and this is an example. This is not exactly what they say. Oh, this is what you're doing. It's just the only way I know how to explain this. So, say I work for an advertising company, and there's an umbrella of other advertising companies underneath this larger one. And say I've been doing advertising in the field of like dog food forever, right? And like pet products. And now all of a sudden I'm going to be moving to IT or healthcare for humans. It's like I'm sort of still under the same umbrella, but it's like a totally different way around. And the way they're showing me this is that it's literally going to be dropped in your lap. It's not something I even feel like you're necessarily searching for, even though you're curious about like looking for a new change. It feels like the opportunity sort of it's going to feel like it's dropped in your lap, even though it's not. I don't know if any of that makes sense. Sorry. With my eyeballs like all really big. Does that resonate when I say that? And also, my apologies for sending out the email really late. For some reason, I thought I sent it earlier today and I didn't. Um, you lost your job last week. So, would it make sense then when I'm saying this is that um, it's interesting that I told that tower moment thing. Um, would it make sense though that like maybe you've been in one area of just, I don't know what it is, but advertising forever, whatever like that. But then you're going to end up moving into something totally different, but with it underneath the field. So, or maybe you've been in nursing forever and you've been, I don't think that is because they really can't be affording to fire nurses. Okay, so that makes sense. Um, so it feels like it's still like in the wheelhouse of what you did. And maybe part of that is like maybe the pause in is that is needing a little bit more structured training before you step into this new path. I don't feel like you're going to be without money until I want to say that. I don't feel like you're going to be without money until you make this leap. Um, did they give you a severance? No. I do feel like you're still getting money. So maybe you get unemployment benefits or something like that from through, you apply for unemployment assistance. But because I don't feel like you're totally without money until then. Okay, I'm confused now. How do they let you go if you're self-employed? I don't, I'm not laughing at you, but like my logical brain goes very literally, like I can't fire I mean, I wouldn't fire myself. I'm self-employed. Long-time contract. Okay. I just don't feel like no money until this happens. So maybe it's that you're taking in some freelance work in between now and then. I literally do not feel like I have no money coming in. And also, is there a chance that you sort of started manifesting and then like imagining a new job, imagining a new doing this new stuff? And I feel like I have to say this, it might be on something through even like Fiverr or something like that, where you go on and you post your services. Cause I feel like it might be like a lot of little jobs. I don't feel like it's like one big contract, but again, I don't feel like you're getting nothing. And maybe the feeling of having something drop in your lap, maybe somebody offers you a job because they saw your work or did work with you on a small level, and that's um, it. Because it's just like it feels like probably more springtime where this gets like dropped in your lap and it's something new. Um, that one they're making me feel like it trickles in more than anything. So whatever gets dropped in your lap isn't necessarily the healing practice because I feel like that's your own thing. But I feel like that's a sort of more of a slower build than this other thing that's coming in. Um, and that because they're kind of talking about your confidence, having to build your confidence in that. And even though you're already sort of, you said self-employed and like running your own business, this is a different beast to run a healing practice. So it feels more that happens more organically and a bit of a slower pace. And that actually might start as early as December. So I don't know if you're doing some sort of certification training or something between now and then. And again, it feels like it starts a little bit slower, a little bit more like getting your feet wet, learning to um, really know your value and your worth, and then how to price yourself and all of that stuff, and um, getting comfortable asking for it, like doing the ask and be like, well, this is what I charge. Um, yeah. So, like I said, maybe it's even like taking some other like I just feel like there's still some other bit of it where you need to learn about it. So maybe it's taking they have courses built towards people in the healing arts. But again, it just feels like a little bit slower of a build. And I don't want to even say like then anticipated. It just feels almost intentional going a little bit slower with it. I brought my reading glasses today. They're a little schmudgy, but whatever. I'm really considering going and getting my eyes evaluated for like where my eyes don't line up well because my motion sickness is so bad, and um, we'll see. Okay. Then I think Devry, you're up, and then Cindy. It looks like it might just be you three today. That's okay. My first grader came home early on Friday because her tummy was bothering her. And then my fifth grader came home early on Friday. Like an hour later, I got called back to the school. She hurt her hand somehow, like jumping up from a desk. And she says it's really painful. It's not swollen. There's not really any visible. It's like slightly bruised under the nail bed. I don't know. Okay. I've been in a situationship for 4 months and I'm trying everything to compromise but patient. And still I feel empty. Is Jesse just using me or does he see us as a serious relationship? Um, I don't feel like he's using you, but I also feel like um, he's not fully emotionally mature, online, available. um, it feels like I'm trying to explain how I feel and put it into words because sometimes that's not always that easy. But he's probably similar to that. Like he's not really able to show up in a really healthy emotional way. I just don't think he has that tool available to him. Um, and his default is to helpless of like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Uh, like accountability is tough for him. So I don't feel like he's using you. And I don't think he feels like he's using you. I feel like, again, it's just he doesn't. Introspection is not there. So, my question to you is, and this is not psychic, these are the sort of things I look at where it's like, if I'm trying to manifest something, I'm not saying you're manifesting them, but it's like, you want the things you're manifesting. So, this is the best way I can do is say, like, if it's a connection with like a friend or whatever, like a new person you meet, and you're like, oh, I like a connection with a friend, whatever. I have a friend who I would like our friendship to be a little bit closer. Like I really um, enjoy conversation with her. She and I have a lot of the same interests. She's just a very busy person, but I'm like, oh, I'd like to get to know her better as a person. I just think she'd be a nice friend to have. Um, and it's kind of, you look at it like, okay, well, why, like, what's your reasoning behind this relationship? Is it you want a relationship or is there something special about him? Or is it you just want a relationship to work? I venture to say it's more about the relationship than it is about him because I just feel like he didn't bring enough to the table. Um, right. So I believe him that he says he loves you. I don't. There isn't a doubt in my mind, and I believe in that he says he wants to be in a relationship. I just don't know. I don't even know if that's about patience so much as it is about like really clear communication and understanding that um, it may be very difficult for him to step up his game. from a manifesting standpoint, not that you're, it's like when we manifest things and they are manifesting in ways that are less than what we deserve, go within and figure out. So I believe you're still early enough in the relationship. So it's like, if I heard, okay, wait, let me back up. Sorry about my stop, my like I'm hitting a little like speed bumps or something in my thought process. So this woman that I follow, that's a manifesting coach, she said something, and I thought this was really good, because this is sort of where I'm at, like where she was kind of talking about when you're manifesting an SP back, right? Or you're trying to reframe how they show up. And this is someone who's been in your life. She says, if you can't imagine him in that role, or that or her or them, whatever your pronouns are, in the role that if you can't imagine them showing up that way, then don't bother trying to manifest them in a different way. Just start with somebody new. So that's one thing I want to say. The second thing I'm going to say is, remember that the universe shows up in our belief system. So if he's showing up in a way that feels like he's not treating you like you're worthy and valuable, go back within and figure out what part of me do I need to reframe? Like, of course I'm worthy and valuable. So I see this show up in my life, and just in weird ways, I'm like, like okay, that's why that shows up that way. Or that's why I do that, where I like, I can imagine him in that role. It's just that he said he's stuck, but he does try. Okay, so you don't have to worry about what comes out of his mouth. Meaning, if you're manifesting, it's, oh, that's just the story he's telling. The truth is that it's really easy for him to shift. He has no problem shifting into this. And you have to, when you're manifesting, like literally just stay with your story. As long as he's not being abusive. If he's being abusive, that's a different story. We're going to like exit out. But if you're willing to practice with it a little bit, and I say that from a standpoint of something my own husband said once, where he's like, oh, I'm never gonna do that. And I like had gotten to this really unemotional space where I was like, in my mind, like just staring at him as he was spiraling. And I was like, oh no, the true story is this is going to happen. This is going to work. Like, meaning like the steps that he was going to take. And like literally came home that night from work and said, oh, I'm going to, whatever. So it was literally verbatim of what I was like, nope, this is the real story. So you kind of have to ignore that, like, oh, I'm just stuck. It's like, nope. The truth is you're just going to see him show up. And it's not about you verbalizing to him. It's in here for you. It's all in here. Yeah. Like it's all internal work. There was something that came up the other day, and I was like, oh, like it was just such like an eye opener of like, oh, that's interesting that I show up that way, in that way. Like that's the result of this X, Y, and Z. And it's not, like I was always trying to find reasons for it. I'm actually getting like I'm in like but it's more around work and stuff, but a life coach right now. And it's like, oh, that's interesting. I always just thought I was stuck and I couldn't really see why I wasn't doing certain things. So, and it's also about when you're doing manifestation where another person is concerned. Right. I do feel like he wants to work. I don't feel like he's like, oh, I'm out the door and I'm just using her and whatever. I just feel like he doesn't have it in him. It doesn't mean he can't have it in him, but it's not about you telling him. It's about you imagining it. And then remember that it may not show up the first time. It may not show up the second time. It's just a matter of like, the true story is, and you'll start to see shifts. I do this with my kids. In areas that I initially in the past thought, oh, this will never change, or they'll never be interested in self-care. So, Where I'm like, no, the true story is they really are interested in looking their best. Not that I like harp on my kids, but and I know this isn't just my child, but it's like I think there's an age thing and then there's plus neurodivergence, but it's like changing clothes. Like, please just change your clothes. Just put on some clean ones without being like, oh. So I don't feel like he's I feel like he's into you. I don't feel like that's just blowing smoke up your tush. And I hope you're doing okay. And what you can do as far as that is really just going within you. It's like, oh, I am deserving. I am worthy of having him show up. That's everybody imagining him show up that way, but and then also knowing like I'm worthy and deserving of having somebody show up in a way that's respectful, that's loving, that I feel supported and respected and loved in a way that I feel connected, like as a partner. Okay. All right. Cindy, you're up. And then I think we're done. Hello. What's your question? I had that police song in my head. Do 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 da 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 is all I want to say to you. I was wondering what the rest of the year is going to look like. Rough start to this month. Today it's only the first day. um, do you want me to look in career or personal life or? I heard personal life is going to be bumpy, and I feel like the career stuff feels like it's going to be the most grounding for you. I just feel like, and not necessarily with your kids, though. I feel like RSV season is need to watch for that. If Eli can get his RSV vaccine, make sure he gets it. I don't know why they just brought RSV up for me. Well, I feel like you're. I was like, it's not better half. Half. Just kidding. Like your other half. Um, I feel like it's going to be a tantrumy season for him. I got to be honest. I just feel like he's on edge and sort of like bubbling over easily. You just overcame COVID too. Okay. Listen, COVID is out there. It's out there. It's busy. It's busy getting catching to person to person. But I don't know why I just feel like RSV is concerning. I just feel like he's with your spouse. I just I feel like there might be a little bit of headbutting. Um, and it feels very interesting to me because it doesn't feel like constant, but it feels like honestly like three significant blowups between now and then. Um, I just heard irrational. Yeah. Um, it feels irrational on his part. It feels like I'm almost dealing with a teenager. You blew up because I didn't feel my emotional space was given or respected. Because it feels like you're dealing with a teenager. Um, hmm. Okay, I'm going to say this. I don't feel like, oh my God, your marriage is splitting up. But it just feels like another nail, another nail. It just feels like you're starting to, like, where you were really working hard for a really long time, you're starting to give up a little bit more. So what if, um, yeah, what if instead of saying like you're acting like a child, it's becoming like you're really dysregulated? Like just notice the behavior, because adults can become dysregulated the same way toddlers become. And I'm not saying to do this because you owe it to him and your relationship. Like it's not any of that kind of bullshit. I feel like it saves you and spares you. And I also feel like it puts him back in his body. And it's like, well, how do you feel before you get to that point? Like, what are you, like put him back in his body so he can start noticing? I get it. I get it. Um, you know what I saw? I saw him kicking something like a tantrum. Like I saw him like in front of the couches, like kicking like a laundry basket or something, like just because he was upset and he was just I'm going to kick something. It felt like, um, yeah. I don't know. It's funny. I'm in the phase of my life where I'm sort of like, I really, I mean, I grew up a tomboy. I grew up really liking guys and having like, I'm not like boy crazy, though I had lots of crushes and I dated lots of guys, but just, oh, like falling for the crap of my guy friends being like, oh, she's crazy. Like their ex girlfriends or girlfriends that they were dating that when they were having fights, really seeing, I mean, you talk about looking at something through the male gaze, like absolutely. And now, like 45, having been married for 14 years and having children and sort of just looking at patriarchy and misogyny and like doing all of the uh, where do my belief systems come from? Well, that's interesting. And looking at it from an observational standpoint rather than like it's not fair that I feel this way. It's like really looking at like, well, okay, if our belief systems do create a reality, where do mine come from? And how so many of my belief systems around my worth and my deserving um, certain types of behavior or not, or accepting certain types of behavior or not, comes a lot from around the relationships I've had with men in platonic ways. And a lot of those behaviors come from society and patriarchy and all of that. I'm not saying all men, but I'm saying a lot of men um, really suck in relationships. And it's not all the crazy women. Um, I was raised to believe I can't depend on anybody, but that's another story. But it wasn't about depending on them. It was just, but even with that, it's like you're giving them a pass. Like they don't have to be dependable. Right. And you see it a lot too, where it's like, I don't know. There's all kinds of different interesting things yeah. But women aren't given the grace to be emotionally mature. Women have to be grown ups at a very young age, right? I don't know. It's really interesting to me. So I don't want to be like, well, he's never going to change. I just don't feel like certain men are going to change. Hey, Deb, can I ask a quick question before you leave in regards to what we were just talking about? Sure, go ahead. You don't have to pay me more for it. It's fine. I've been giving away, y'all, every week. I send out an email You get a free question. Nobody ever takes me up on it, so I'll go for it. You've supported me for so much, all of you. So, um, and sorry if my gum chewing is annoying you. I don't know. I feel like I need it for my own regulatory system. I taught my kids, like, we've been doing tapping, and we've been doing, like, I taught my daughter, like, how to rub her ears on the inside for, my one daughter doesn't like it, but she's like, oh, that's so relaxing. She's like, her eyes are like, ugh. And I was like, why do you think our bunny likes to be petted on her ears so much, and doggies and kitties? Because catches the vagus nerve there. Okay. So again, so I feel like work is going to be steady. That's going to be your grounding point. That's going to be your place that where it actually kind of brings you back to stability. Um, this might be, just a pie in the sky kind of dream for you to shoot forward, but make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure that you're, because I just know that you're a do it all kind of person. Really just make sure you're doing some little things for yourself, self-care and stuff, Cindy. But this could really go to anybody. But I feel like there's going to be like 3 blow-ups between now and the end of the year. Oh no. When? Oh no. Is he okay? Okay. Well, as a mom, I can say that's a lot. Because you have more than one child and you're having to, his catheter was clogged. Oh, poor baby. And it's scary, it's stressful, it's overwhelming, it's exhausting, it's a lot. And so what you want your partner to say is that maybe you're right, you understand, like, you have to be at work, like, you can't begrudge him that, right? But then just say, like, oh yeah, that would be hard, that would be overwhelming. I can't imagine. I'm sorry I couldn't be there. That's it. That's all you want. It's like not rocket science. And unfortunately, a lot of people, but I'm kind of talking about men right here, go to a place of feeling, where they are become defensive and automatically like, well, me too. You're like, I don't want to hear that right now. That's that emotional maturity bit. Oh my God, all the stories I could tell you. All the stories I could tell you. I heard him complain about his job for days, and I listened, about inserting myself, and he couldn't do the same. So I literally thought, oh well, just when he's calm, like maybe put it not about, oh, I listen to you for days, but like, when I see you're upset, I'm happy to listen and be supportive and just be an ear or a sounding board. It would be nice if when I'm frustrated, you could reciprocate. Would you be willing to do that? Or when you said it to me this way, you do the whatever it's called, nonviolent communication. When this was going on and you responded this way, it made me feel minimized. It made me feel like I wasn't heard. It made me feel hurt my feelings, whatever it is. Would you be willing to try it again? We can do it for practice. Like, we could role play it and see, so that way next time, because there's going to be a next time. Let's be honest. There are going to be experiences in life where you're going to need to be emotionally supported. And you can say, I don't want you to fix it. You can't. Like, that's unreasonable for me and you to think that you are responsible to fix it or that you can fix it. However, what I really needed was, in that moment, a response like this. Do you think that that could be possible? And like, so if you acknowledge, like, I could see where you would think you need to fix it. You're a fixer, right? Like, acknowledge where they're at. That's not manipulating. That's like speaking to them in a way where you're not putting them on the defense. Um, I always think that's the only thing I can think that would potentially help for him. But I see opportunities for this to happen again. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, I do feel like he'll make an effort at it. I don't know that it's going to turn out the way you want, but I do feel like he will make an effort. And I feel like he's really going to like think that he really tried to. Like, yes, I'm sure he pats himself on the back too. I heard this really awesome analogy today, and it was a woman talking about, maybe it wasn't a woman, I don't remember, someone talking about, I'm going to use gender neutral because I'm not 100% certain, gender neutral pronouns, but they were talking about, kind of how there's this shift of women and men, and women sort of no longer tolerating stuff that's been acceptable under the terms of patriarchy and misogyny, and what our roles are, and that women oftentimes take on the burden of the home, right? All of the um, requirements that go along with taking care of the home, the children, everything within it, right? And the guy's like, weren't getting, well, why'd she just like up and leave me? Don't you need a partner? Like, seeming all shocked when the woman finally wants a divorce. And this person was saying, like, okay, let me put it this way. Like, what if you are, before you get married, you work in a restaurant. It's kind of like a moderate restaurant. And so you do you take the orders, you bring out the food, you bust the tables, you tidy up at the end of the night, you do all that stuff. And then this worker, Steve, comes in, and Steve, you think, oh, great, I've got somebody that's going to be a partner to me and help me out. And we're going to do, like, like, do the job together. So it's less work for me and we can, like, we're partners. But like, Steve kind of does things half-ass, and like, you're mentally responsible for all of these things. And right. And you get exhausted, because then you're having to remember, he's like, well, he doesn't understand why you have a problem with him only doing things like partially or not fully, and like, who cares? And you're having to help do his job now and clean up after him, and the mental work of knowing like where they're at. And then, he couldn't get their orders right because he had bad handwriting, and so you're having to go in and translate and do all the extra stuff. And so it's like, oh, you finally find out there's this opening at another restaurant, and it's like the same roles you were expected before, but you like get to do your own job. You don't have to work with somebody else. And it's like, oh, but then there's this other person over there, Mike, who's working, and Mike is actually a good partner, and you take care of each other and all this other stuff. And the Steve is like, why don't you want to help with these roles? But the point being is, like, there's a lot of people out there, men, who aren't doing their fair share, and women are getting tired of it. Pandemic, um, a lot of our society is shifting, and the age of Aquarius stuff, where the old patterns aren't working anymore. So I don't know. And you are doing a lot. So I'm not saying you're going to leave him yet. And I just, from here to the end of the year, I see like 3 blow ups. opportunities to practice. I mean, I have a lot of friends where we'll say, like, if we were done with our relationships, there's no way we'd get into another one. It's not. It's like it's a lot. It's a lot. It's not the idea of what I was sold, but what it is. Yeah. And I think that's how like a lot of people are. So. All right. Does anybody have any other? Oh, Deborah, you had another question. What did you want to ask? Jesse's seeing anyone else? No. No, I don't think he has another relationship. I think he has a love of video games. I see him video gaming. Yeah, I don't feel like it's another woman. I just feel like it's I like it's funny when I see him outside, I see him like talking to people, but not women, but just like BSing with like other people in video games. And I just feel like it's a feeling guilty that he's like literally got caught up in a video game instead of so it's easier for him to which is like it this is where like the emotional maturity comes. It's like it's just as easy to say like I was playing a video game. I totally lost track of time. Or I was in the middle of it. Like I'll call my mom. My mom's a gamer. She's 73. She'll be 73 next month. And she's a gamer. And we'll call her sometimes and she'll like, I'm in a dungeon. Can I call you back? And I feel like it would be just as easy for him to say, like, I was in the middle of a battle. I'm sorry. People can change. But I'm just saying, like, it's just as easy to be honest. But there's some kind of shame he carries around that. So, all right. Is everybody done? Are we all good? I see there's another person here now. It was a quiet Sunday. That's okay. We can have quiet Sundays, right? It's supposed to be, we got a ton of rain on Friday. And I was like really worried because I started seeing all this flooding. And then like the governor in New Jersey declared a state of emergency. And there's all this flooding in Hoboken. Our area was fine. Normally where there is a little bit of flooding, near my house, they did a whole bunch of work on the sewers and stuff, so it doesn't even like there was no standing water at all. It was amazing. But I went into the city to go to a concert, the Tedeschi Trucks concert, the garden party, and it was so good. You're gonna practice self-control. Good for you. People can. So here's the thing. I believe people can change. I've changed. You've changed. Like we all can change. But we can't make somebody else change. They have to want to do that. All right. So I'm going to say good night. Adieu, toodaloo. I will see you next week. Enjoy the weather if it's nice by you. Hunker down if it's not. I'll see y'all later. Thank you for supporting me, by the way.